Now, one of the things that I wasn't sure I wanted to get into, but I talked about splitting hairs. You know, exactly what the statute says. Most people, even in my business, assume that they cannot come on your property without either permission or a court order. And that's because in the cases that I've worked on over the last 20 years, that's the way it happens. They ask for permission. If the owner says no, they go and get a court order, because that's just good business. I mean, you don't want to get bit by a dog or fall into a hole or have some kind of physical confrontation. I mean, they want to be covered too. That's why I think most of the time, just a letter like that will put them back on their heel a little bit, and they'll want to make sure they know what their rights are. But it's arguable that in certain very limited situations, they can come on your property without permission or court order. That is, in the words of the law, if there's going to be no damage to the property, and if there will not be a substantial interference with your rights to possess the property. So, if it's vacant, rural land, and they wander around out there on a dirt road, it might be one thing. If there's a locked gate out there that they need to get through, and there's a risk of damage to the property or interrupting, you know, your possession, you're actually out there living there, then I think a strong argument can be made that they should have a court order, just to avoid the kind of conflicts I'm talking about.
Sempra Security told me that they had sent me an email, and that was their, that was, I said I didn't know emails were a legal document because I got one from someplace in Africa saying I owed FedEx 275 pounds to somebody in Canada.
Right. Well, I mean, them inviting themselves onto your land with an email is different, I think, than...
What about your threat to throw them in jail?
I'm not sure what that involved. I'm not sure what the authority for that is. And that's why one thing you can do, and you can talk to these people directly if you want, or you can write to them, or you can ask me to call them. But I'd be more than happy to call them for it and say, listen, I want to clear up some confusion here. These people are under the mistaken impression that they were told that, you know, $500 and, you know, you're going to the federal pen. What is the legal authority for that? You know, and see what they say. Because I'm not aware of
what if you tell those safari wagon guys, Helix Environmentals, to stay off your land because it says no trespassing? Then they send you a letter, the Sunrise Powerlink in 2007, making us give them permission. Everybody's been on our land, opening up gates, flying through. And right here, I didn't sign it, but they still got full permission. They do anything they want. They tell us to get off our land, to leave our gates open. They come up 724. We got phone numbers for them to call. We have dogs. We're not allowed to have dogs. They came up and praised 2 weeks ago in this, you know, lady you talked about that's supposed to be so honest?
Right.
She's a conniving weasel.
Exactly. It's a biological. I'm not sure what permission they're talking about, but I would be very curious to see what legal documents they say give them.
Land management gives them permission, the Helix Environmentalist, SDG&E.
Was that with Wiggins and Willett? Is that when they sent you?
This one they gave me in 2007.
Is that from the Wiggins company that was out there? That would send a court order if we don't give permission?
We got the same one.
Yeah.
It was to sign it and
And
get
then
the
they come in-
permission or we'll go
Well,
to court.
see, you know, I'm not sure exactly what they're saying, but the threats I've heard before is, you better give us permission or we're gonna go get a court order, like that's the end of the world. You know, like, oh no, they're gonna get a court order. Well, you know, maybe you wanna get a court order. I mean, that limits what they're gonna do. I mean, that's how you control this. I mean, you can gain certain things from these situations. You can limit their access. You can learn a lot about what they're doing. You can try to get access to their reports. If they're out there doing biological surveys and seismics, I mean, you want to see those results right away. And you want to find out who's on your property and when. I mean, you have private property rights. And the idea that one governmental agency is giving some other governmental agency rights to land that they don't even own, you know, it's like a mutual admiration society there where they meet in, behind closed doors and say, oh yeah, Farmer Joe doesn't mind you going on his land, But that's the kind of thing it sounds like, a significant interference with the possession of your property. If you're out there and you've got pets and you've got gates and they're impacting that, they should have a court order. And again, it's not that you don't want a court order. I'm not saying you can always stop a court order. I'm saying it just allows you to keep an eye on these guys.
But they throw us in jail for breaking the law when they can break every law in the world.
I'm not sure about that. I'd like to talk to you about that because I've been doing this 20 years and I've never heard of anybody going to jail. Now, I have heard about sheriffs throwing people out when they defy a legal court order. They get an order for possession and they won't leave and are just being scofflaws to, the court. That's one thing. That's why the question that Jody had was right on. Okay, show me the authority, let me consider it, and then I'm going to obey lawful orders of the court, but not whatever the Star Chamber meeting you guys had back in some smoky rooms. But I would be curious about that. I'd like to see that if you have a chance. Yes, sir.
I think I just heard you refer to SDG&E as one government agency giving to another government agency, but from whom does SDG&E derive their powers of eminent domain? Is that PUC?
Well, I was speaking loosely.
I know, I hope so.
There is a statute. In fact, Steve, did you want to address this?
Hi, I work with Steve McDonald. Yes, in June 2007, the PUC issued a ruling saying that SDG&E did have authority to go out and do the surveys, and they clarified that they do need a court order or written consent. As long, they have to comply with the law in that sense. So they need a court order, they need written consent if they're going to cause damage or a substantial interference.
But my question was, their powers, SDG&E doesn't in and of itself have powers of eminent domain. It is a private company. Powers of eminent domain derive from a governmental agency, whether it's for public use or public benefit. We can argue around that, but where do they don't have the right to condemn our property at this point. They may have a court order that gives them the ability now to prepare.
They have authority granted to them by the PUC, so they have that same right under the PUC for eminent domain.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, it derives from
the PUC.
Well, it actually
at some point, it isn't best to get them, is it?
Well, there is a statute that delegates the power of eminent domain from the state of California to electric companies to build their infrastructure. And there's similar, what they call enabling statutes for water districts and sewer districts and school districts. And so there is a specific statute. Now, whether they've jumped through all the hoops is more these guys' realm than mine, but I know there is an enabling statute.
All right, well, I wanted to get that, but talking about entry into the property, I guess what I will do to my caseworker is we all have different caseworkers. Mine is Fred Clark, is a fairly affable, genial guy, but he has got a job to do. I will send him a certified letter because I'm a great believer in sending any bureaucracy a certified letter, return receipt, because they lose the ones they don't want and they keep the ones that are important to them. But I would think that we also have a right, and they have a duty to provide us with certificates of insurance and even additionally insured on anybody who's going to enter our property that works for them. Because if they don't have workers' comp and the guy falls out of a tree or my tree hits him or the bull runs him over, I don't want to be in line for that. So I think we have a right and they the duty to give that to us. So I'm going to basically say, you let me know when you want to round your people up. We will make an appointment, maybe at my convenience, if we get to that point. And I want to see the names and your certificates of insurance for the different entities that you're going to bring onto my property.
Well, you're on exactly the right track. Now, there's two different ways you can do this.